Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We received very upsetting and devastating news on Monday, the 13th of December, that my dear elder brother, close friend and support, Gurdeep Singh Ji, had left this world and left for his onward journey. It was very, very upsetting news. His untimely departure caused a shock throughout the Sikh community here in the United Kingdom. And we are joined today by some of our close associates, friends, colleagues, people who knew Gurdeep very well for many, many decades. And we wish to speak about him, his life and his legacy. Before we join all the guests here gathered at SIKH Channel in the very studio where Gurdeep worked for many years as CEO and made a huge lasting contribution, before we speak to all our guests, I would like to speak to the family of Gurdeep Singh, in particular his daughter Pavan Kaur, who is joined together in this program. Pavan Ji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This is a very, very upsetting time for you and your mother, your brother, all your family. It's a very difficult time. But we here at SIKH Channel and all the Sikh community are joined with you in your moment of grief and sadness. Can you please tell us about your relationship with your father, Gurdeep Singh, and what he meant to you?
I had a very close relationship with my dad. We'd always spent a lot of time together, and he was a man that gave a lot of time to his family, to his 3 granddaughters. And now we've lost my dad, I feel so grateful that I had all of that time with him. I had meaningful conversations with my dad. We did so much together. In the lockdown last year, my dad and I would go for daily walks, would be out of the house for about an hour. I'd say to my mum, Mum, you stay at home. Me and my dad are going to go. It was just my time with him to vent about things, just talk about things that were going on in our lives, talk about Godwara Aid, all the projects that my dad was doing. My dad, I don't have one single word for my dad, but I would just say that my dad was a truly remarkable man. He was an amazing husband, granddad, dad, son, brother, and he touched a lot of people. And we've seen that through the tributes online, through the people that have come to see my dad. It's a truly devastating time. And I don't think, no one ever thinks that their parent's no one ever wants their parent to go, but when it happens so suddenly and so tragically, it's very, very hard.
Your father was a very pious man. He was in Chardikala. He was a true Gursikh. I spent a lot of time with him very closely, even stayed together with me overnight on many occasions. I saw him very close and we were good friends. And he was a committed Sikh. He was a tremendous Chardikala Gursikh, committed to his faith. And how will your Sikh faith help you during this difficult time?
I think my dad was a very knowledgeable man. He knew so much about Sikhi. I went to Rajasthan about 10 years ago, and I remember bringing my dad and my granddad a little notebook home. And my dad kept that all these years. And if ever he was listening to a katha or a certain shabad, my dad would always be writing in that notebook. And then obviously when he worked for SIKH Channel, when Godwara Aid came about, being a trustee of Royal Cancer, that notebook stayed with my dad. And I think in times like this, you hold your faith very close to your heart. And I think, I guess I would just try to keep my dad's legacy alive and just try to make my dad proud. And I think as a family, we have to be strong. We have to stay strong. We have to be one unit. yeah, I mean, I just got to keep my dad's legacy alive, I suppose, and just have faith in God that this was his time and that my dad, in the 59 years, achieved more than what someone would achieve in 80 years of their life. And I think seeing all of the tributes, we had one of my dad's friends come yesterday, but this friend had never actually met my dad. But he had spoken to my dad quite often over the past year. And I think to me, that showed me the sort of type of man my dad was and how he could just sort of befriend anyone and, he would make a difference to someone's life. And I think it's only now, these people are coming to pay their respects that you realize what an amazing Sikh my dad was. I mean, my dad was someone that would always challenge things. My dad wasn't someone that would just go along with the crowd. He would be happy to stand alone against 500 other people that he didn't agree with because he just didn't want to be a sheep. Don't know how else to put it. My dad always taught me and my brother, have your own beliefs. He was a very forward thinking man. And my mum said that's why she was married to my dad, because he was so forward thinking. He was a modern man. But my dad, he was just so knowledgeable. And I always knew that, but I think it's times like this you realise, gosh, I could go to my dad about anything, and I know lots of people. We all go to our dads. I remember going on a walk with him. We had a random conversation about ISIS. I just wanted some information. Just you see things, you read about things, but your dads are the ones that explain these things to you. We'd have such profound conversations with each other. If I ever had any worries, my dad would be the rational, level-headed one to give me that support. Yeah, it's just a very, very big loss to our family, but also to so many other people. And I never realised that. I knew my dad touched so many people's hearts, but I think seeing it in front of me on social media, seeing all the people that are coming to pay their respects, I can't believe it. And but I feel really pleased for my dad, because my dad did so much for other people, and I feel that he really deserves all of this.
Absolutely. And here at SIKH Channel, we share your thoughts and we echo the contribution of Gurdeep Singh, not just to SIKH Channel, but to the wider Sikh community. And what advice would you give to any children, perhaps, who aren't close to their fathers? You were very close to your father. You had a special relationship, and some people live for 100 years and they don't touch anybody. They don't achieve anything in their life. Gurdeep, in those 59 years, achieved so much and has inspired you. What would you say to any children who are perhaps not so close to their parents or their father?
Um, It's a very good question. I understand that everyone's circumstances are very different. Not everybody is lucky to have a close relationship with their parents. But I would just say that, if you can spend more time with your parents, not just your dad, but your mum, please do it. Of course, I don't know circumstances at home, but, you know, if you sit in your room and you watch TV on your own and, your parents are together in another room, just go and take that time and just sit with them. Ask your parents questions, engage with them. Just do a little bit, because you never want to get to this place where you lose your parent and you regret it. You regret that you didn't get to say things you wanted to say. Um, and those that perhaps don't have a father for other reasons, try and do all that you can for your mum, your grandparents. Um, that's what I would say. I would just say do what you can. If you've got two parents that are still around, make that time, make that effort, because it's a very rare relationship. You only call one person mum and one person dad. And I would just say, just do all that you can, spend all the time that you can, because nothing's assured in life. I never thought that I would be losing my dad at 27 and him being 59. So just do all that you can. That's what I would say. Spend all the time that you can. Go and see your parents. If you don't live near, make that time, make that effort, because only you can do that. Only you're responsible for that. No one else can do that for you. You must do that. That's what I would say.
And finally, what would you like as the family, and I ask you to speak on behalf of the entire family, what would you like to see as the legacy of Gurdeep Singh? Gurdeep Singh, who did so much for so many. He helped me personally and was a great support to me personally, as well as professionally to the SIKH channel. What would you like to see Gurdeep's legacy? How would you like him to be remembered? And what can we do going forward to carry on his work?
My dad did so many things, and I would be devastated if those things didn't carry on. And I suppose these are the types of conversations I would have with Uncle Mandeep, in a couple of weeks' time. But I think it's really important that everything my dad put in place, the Kunda Poppy Project, Godwara Aid, all these things must carry on. And like I said, this is something that I would discuss with Uncle later on. And I just think my dad's kindness, and I want my dad to be remembered for his kindness, my dad's amazing smile. I think that's one thing that everyone has said, that my dad always had this really charming smile. And it's been the same smile since he was young. And you can see that in photos that my dad, it's a very genuine smile. It's not a forced smile. As much as my dad hated taking photos, it's a very, endearing, happy smile. I just want him to be remembered for all the things that he did for people. Everyone's got their own personal sort of story that they've shared with my dad, and I just want them to hold on to that. And I want it to encourage others to sort of try and offer that support where they can. These people that come into our lives, like my dad, no one can replace my dad, no one can be my dad, no one can take the place of my dad. But we can take things from what my dad did and try and instill them in our own lives. My dad had so many friends, and now for me, what would keep me going is staying in contact with those friends, meeting up with my dad's friends, talking about all the old days, all the old stories. That's what would keep my dad alive in my heart. And I think that's how we keep his legacy alive, just remembering all the amazing things he did and keeping alive these projects. My dad had so many things planned now, he thinks planned next year, and they mustn't fall through, they must still happen. My dad, he would be devastated. So that's what I will ensure. I will ensure that I can do, as a family, that we can do what we can to keep all of this going still.
Just thank you very much. And I would like to give you commitment of the SIKH channel, the SIKH channel community, all our supporters and team, that we will do everything we can, and we are available to support you, Godwara Aid, Mandeep, to ensure that the legacy of Gurdeep Singh continues. We also do ardas for his onward journey and give our very best wishes and condolences to the family. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts and being so open and honest with your feelings and helping others really through this process, helping others. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Uncle, I'm sorry. I'd really like to say one more thing because this is very important. I would really encourage anybody who, in particular, related to heart attack, if you're experiencing chest pain, if you're experiencing pain radiating into your arm, your jaw, please, you must call 999. Please don't delay it. I'd really just like to enforce that, that, before it's too late. That's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you for that heartfelt advice, and we wish you well and all your family. We do ardas for Gurdeep Singh's onward journey. Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Mandeep, we heard from Gurdeep Singh's family, from his dear daughter, about how they feel about his life, his legacy. I think it's incumbent and almost a duty upon you and SIKH Channel to keep the legacy of Gurdeep Singh alive.
I think you're right, and I think that's been the overwhelming message we've been getting from people as well. We must keep this going, and the family are very keen to get this up, so we will be looking to do that going forward.
And you have our support.
Thank you for that. That's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.